and Katrina had hit, and that the city had flooded. It was a terrible, terrible, terrible thing. And most people, even today, I think some people aren't aware that the hurricane itself did some damage in New Orleans. But the real catastrophe was not the hurricane, it was the aftermath. The storm surge from that hurricane weakened the walls of one of the primary levees that protects the city. New Orleans is like a fishbowl. Mm-hmm. It's below sea level. And these levees are built around it to protect it. But the problem with a fishbowl is what? Once you pour the water in, where does it go?
Yeah.
You can't, and they have a pump system, but it was not.
I remember even at the time in the news stories, they said it's gone. It passed the city. We're safe.
Yeah.
And everybody went to bed that night thinking, oh, they dodged the bullet. And the next morning they woke up and the city was flooded.
And many of them were on the roofs the next morning.
Right.
Because that storm surge and the way it happened, it went up Lake Pontchartrain, then it came back down. When it came back down, it was very powerful, broke the walls of one of the key levees, and the entire city flooded, and there was no way to get the water out.
Right.
And so it was a textbook case of lack of resilience that caused that catastrophe. And that had a real impact on me. But I was called in as an economic development professional to help help them in putting together a substantial summit in Washington to help put into place the framework for the recovery. And that's what we did. And then periodically I would help the Department of Economic Development, go to meetings, things like that. I learned a lot. And then from there, because I had this overseas practice, and that was a fairly high-profile event, I started getting calls from overseas. And so I, again, had been to Australia many times, and they had flooding in Australia, and they asked me to consult with them on that. Then the earthquake and tsunami in Japan, an earthquake that caused real devastation in the Colorado River basin in Baja California, and then the Gulf oil spill, which was, a real devastating event that was a man-made disaster, a man-caused disaster. And that opened up a new understanding of me that not all disasters are caused by Mother Nature, unfortunately.
Yeah.